Lena Morgan sat quietly at gate B26. Clutching the boarding pass that symbolized more than just a flight, it represented her father's pride in her accomplishments. It had been a grueling year of academic achievements, internships, and tireless work. And this first-class ticket was his way of saying, "I see you. I believe in you." The gift meant more than the luxury seat or the gourmet meals. It was a validation of her efforts. She looked down at her well-worn sneakers and oversized hoodie, tugging it tighter over her body, unaware of the storm she was about to walk into. The moment she stepped into the aircraft, the cool scent of recycled air and leather greeted her. First class was mostly empty, a serene oasis of comfort she had never experienced before. She found her seat 2A, a window spot nestled in luxury. The soft lighting overhead, the folded blankets, the real glasses instead of plastic cups. Everything whispered elegance. She slid into her seat, already imagining herself lost in a movie marathon with the noise-canceling headphones she'd seen in the promo pictures. But peace is a fragile thing. A woman in a tight navy uniform walked briskly toward her, clipboard in hand. "Excuse me," she said with practiced politeness. "May I see your boarding pass?" Her name tag read Vivian. Her smile was thin and her eyes sharp. Lena didn't sense warmth, only scrutiny. "Of course," Lena replied, fishing it out of her pocket. Vivian scanned it, her eyebrows knit together for the briefest second before her expression returned to polite neutrality. "Thank you," she said, but didn't leave. Instead, she looked over her shoulder. A second woman stepped into view. Tall, coiffed, dressed in white linen slacks and a designer shawl. Her heels tapped the floor as if announcing her authority. Her name was Annalise Trent. Lena didn't know her, but the flight crew clearly did. She was supposed to be here. Vivian whispered to another attendant, though Lena still caught it. The two women exchanged a series of looks and nods before Vivian turned back to Lena. "I'm sorry, but there's been a seating mix-up," she said, still smiling that tight, professional smile. "This seat was assigned to one of our frequent flyers. We'll need to move you to another seat. We apologize for the inconvenience." Lena blinked. There must be some mistake. "This is my seat." She pointed to her boarding pass, her heart racing. Vivian glanced again, then shrugged. "These things happen sometimes. If you could just come with me. We have another seat available toward the back." Her throat dried up. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The woman in white was now standing beside them, glancing at her phone as if bored by the delay. Lena glanced around. No one said anything. A few people watched. Others pretended not to. She could feel the heat crawling up her neck. Still stunned, Lena stood and quietly collected her backpack. She didn't want to make a scene. That's what they'd expect of someone like her, young, casually dressed, alone. Her steps down the aisle felt heavier than they should. When she finally slid into the cramped middle seat between a man who was already asleep and a woman scrolling through social media, her legs felt like lead. She stared ahead blankly, the scent of first class still lingering in her memory like a dream she had woken too soon from. As the plane soared into the sky, Lena tried to focus on the movie playing on the scratched little screen in front of her, but she couldn't concentrate. Her thoughts were a tangled mess of humiliation, confusion, and quiet rage. She typed a brief message to her father. "They moved me to the back. Said someone else needed my seat. Didn't argue." She had sinned. She didn't expect a reply right away. Her father, Jonathan Morgan, was in meetings all day. He was a private man who had built a billion-dollar airline from scratch. Known for his quiet demeanor and unshakable standards, she knew he loved her. But he wasn't the kind of man to cause a fuss. Or so she thought. Back in his glass-paneled office, high above the city, Jonathan's assistant walked in with a puzzled expression. "Sir, you may want to read this." She handed him the message forwarded from Lena's phone. He read it once, then twice. A chill settled over him. "Get me the operations director for Flight 782. Now." The call was brief, but decisive. His voice, calm and quiet. carried an authority that didn't need to shout. Within minutes, the news had reached the cockpit. Captain Robert Hayes, a seasoned pilot with decades of experience, received the update with a stiff nod. Understood, he said into the headset. Then he turned to his first officer. Get Vivian in here. When Vivian arrived, her confidence had already begun to fray. The captain looked her in the eye. The young woman you had moved to the back seat 2A. She's Jonathan Morgan's daughter. Vivian's mouth opened, but nothing came out. You will escort her back to first class immediately and issue a formal apology. Understand? She nodded, but her legs were unsteady as she exited the cockpit. Lena sat quietly, her headphones still on though nothing played. The dull hum of the engine was the only thing she could focus on. She didn't notice the hush that had spread through the crew. She didn't see the glances being exchanged or the way passengers subtly turned in their seats. Vivian approached slowly, her hands clasped in front of her. Miss Morgan, she said, voice low. There was an error earlier regarding your seat. We'd like to return you to 2A. Lena looked up. Her eyes were calm, but unreadable. Are you saying I was right all along? She asked, evenly. Vivian's throat bobbed as she swallowed. Yes, ma'am. We apologize for the confusion. Lena didn't say anything. She stood, retrieved her bag, and walked back down the aisle. This time, people noticed. Passengers straightened in their seats. Some looked away. Others gave half smiles or avoided her gaze entirely. She didn't care. She kept walking, her steps even. When she reached 2A, she sat down, not with triumph, not with defiance, just with the quiet certainty that comes with knowing you belong. The flight continued. Annalise Trent didn't say a word. Vivian continued her rounds with forced cheerfulness. No one dared mention what had happened, but the tension was thick enough to taste. Lena reclined her seat and closed her eyes. She wasn't angry. She wasn't even surprised. She had always known how the world worked, especially for girls like her unapologetically herself, not dressed in designer labels, not adorned in inherited prestige. But what she hadn't expected was to be treated this way on her father's airline. Later, as the plane prepared to land, the captain made another announcement. We'd like to extend our sincerest apologies for a seating error earlier in the flight. It has since been resolved. Thank you for your understanding. To most, it was just a bland airline apology. But for those who had watched it unfold, it was a quiet reckoning. As passengers disembarked, whispers followed Lena. She walked past Vivian, who stood stiffly by the exit, offering goodbyes with a hollow smile. When Lena stepped into the terminal, her phone buzzed. I'm proud of you. You did the right thing. We'll take it from here. Dad. She smiled faintly and kept walking. Behind the scenes, the fallout began. Vivian's actions were thoroughly reviewed. Jonathan Morgan made no public statements. But internally, the message was clear. Judgment based on appearances would not be tolerated. Training protocols were restructured. Anti-discrimination programs were implemented across the airline. Vivian's position was quietly terminated 2 weeks later. As for Lena, she didn't tell many people about what happened. She didn't post about it. She didn't seek sympathy. What had happened wasn't just about her, it was about everyone who had ever been made to feel like they didn't belong. And while she never wanted the attention, she understood the power of silence, of dignity, of staying calm when the world expected her to lash out. She had changed the way her father's airline would treat its passengers, not by raising her voice, but by never lowering her worth.